introductory video for COM 250 being offered Session 1, the online course at Spalding University. I'm your instructor for the course, Dr. Jason Phillips, and I'll be talking to you about some of the basics of the class, what you can expect, resources, books, things like that. And so I guess we will get started. Good place to start, I suppose, is with the syllabus. And so, of course, it's always good to begin a course to look at the syllabus, outline, textbooks, policies, assignments, things like that. And so I'll bring the syllabus up on the screen, and we will look at that and talk about it. So with that, let's go to the syllabus. You see at the top here, you have the name of the course, the times, or the session that it is. You have my contact information. Again, I welcome you to get in touch with me anytime about anything. And as we scroll down here a little bit to some other parts of the syllabus, we will, there we go, the course description. This course introduces students to specific computer-mediated genres and channels, and will also introduce students to relevant social, political, legal, and cultural issues related to the development of computer-mediated communication. Computer-mediated communication, of course, there's a little bit of everything that it encompasses with respect to communication, and so as such, you see the textbooks will hit on that. The textbooks cut a wide variety of material. You see the textbooks there, and after this part of the presentation, I'll talk more about each textbook specifically, but you see the textbooks there that you're required to buy. Private Sphere, YouTube, and Personal Connections in the Digital Age. The authors there you see, they are available in the Spalding University bookstore. Let me go on down here. The course objectives and the outcomes, you can read through those on your own. They're a part of what makes this a part of the University Studies course, but it tries to apply some broad outcomes to the specific content of this course. Obviously, plagiarism is not tolerated, and certainly an online course that has to be policed more in a more vigilant, or at least a different manner. And so I'll try to pay better attention to that. Let me say a little bit. Language use and etiquette, or as I'm calling it here, netiquette, is somewhat different in an online course, I suppose. Obviously, we hope you'll use language appropriate to a professional setting and avoid offending or degrading anyone with respect to, aspects of their identity and things like that. Also, in an online course, we have the issue of what I'm calling netiquette, and that's not my term. It's used in a variety of contexts, but obviously blends the concept of the net, the internet, and etiquette. And so, since this is an online class, there are some additional suggestions regarding decorum that will assist in facilitating a good learning environment. These include obviously be mindful. We'll rely heavily on written communication, maybe as far as emails and things like that, and content posted in text form on Moodle. And so obviously written messages can easily be misunderstood, so be cautious when attempting humor or sarcasm. I give that tip, having fallen victim to it several times, and so be mindful of that. But and the other side of that is, and also the other side of when I talk about using appropriate language, I think it's also important in those situations to give everyone kind of the benefit of the doubt, especially in an environment where we have a harder time judging people's judging people's contextual cues. So give everyone kind of the benefit of the doubt, and try to have an abundance of patience and not be oversensitive as well. And if we all follow those rules and try to assume the best intentions on everyone's part, at least on the upfront. Hopefully, we will get along better with respect to those things. Do not forward virus warnings, jokes, spam, other inappropriate email to the class or instructor. It's a good general rule to only send material relevant to class to other members of the class or the instructor. Do not share classmates' personal information or forward emails and other class correspondence without permission. Review again before sending a message. Just whatever you're sending, your email or your class communication, your post to Moodle, whatever, does it convey the intended message? And do not write in all caps. That's kind of an interesting an interesting internet rule or convention that's evolving. That is the electronic equivalent of shouting. This is really a topic of the course itself in some ways. But we're at an interesting time where the rules and the conventions of online communication are evolving, much like we have a variety of kind of understood rules and conventions for written communication, for face-to-face verbal communication, conventions for creating media messages. All those things have evolved over time, and there was a period where it was sloppy and messy while all that was getting kind of worked out, and that's sort of where we are. And so to me, it's a fascinating and exciting time because myself, other instructors, and even students such as yourself taking courses like this, we get to be in there kind of in the hurly-burly while the conventions and rules and genre of online communication is being solidified and codified. So I think that's exciting. But one thing is, some people know this, some people don't, but to write in all caps is the electronic equivalent of shouting. And so try to avoid that in class communication and in your everyday communication. A little content disclaimer. Please be mindful that the nature of the topic being studied could at times necessitate examining controversial materials, ideas, and content. You never know what's going to come up, and there's a lot of strange stuff out there within computer-mediated communication. Some of it is worth talking about for a learning, in a learning context. Try to use this course as an opportunity to develop discernment in the appropriate contexts, purposes, and rationale for openly and honestly discussing controversial or difficult ideas and topics. And again, some of that is incumbent on me to make sure that I, do a good enough job of helping you understand why we're talking about, whatever it is we might be talking about that could get, maybe, that could seem controversial or maybe uncomfortable at times. The AAP program and course attendance policy. In the interest of time, I'll let you read over this. You do have certain responsibilities. This course is intended to be developed and delivered solely via electronic means. And so as with the traditional face-to-face class, course content and assignments will be completed incrementally throughout the term. And you'll have to read things, and I'll post things within a given kind of time frame. It should equate to the time spent in a traditional course. While some assignments and content will have particular specific due dates, as you'll see on the rundown of the course schedule, a week's content and work must be completed and submitted by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday evening of a given week. You'll see that more specifically in the breakdown of the course schedule. You see here some various kinds of technology or internet applications we'll be using. I'll say a little bit more about these in another part of this video and about each of them individually as we go along in the course, but you can see them there: Google Hangout, Poll Everywhere, YouTube, Moodle, some others as well. You'll have tutorial videos on all of the relevant programs and software. Also Present.me, Blogspot, those are soft programs and software and internet applications will be used as well. You will receive a significant grade penalty for any assignment that is not completed by the due date. I'll try to be flexible if you approach me in advance. You see here the schedule. A couple of things. if you look at the dates, basically I will try to post everything for a given week by 11:59 p.m. on Monday of that week. And anything that you have to have completed for that week, readings, assignments, work, postings, whatever, they will need to be completed by and submitted by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday of that week. And so that will be our schedule. You can read through what we'll cover each week and the assignments that we'll have. Each of those will be dealt with more specifically when it becomes relevant. You'll also have weekly Google Hangout sessions with you'll be put into some small groups to, and given maybe discussion prompts or things to work on, and you'll need to meet in Google Hangout or some other video conferencing software you choose to use. And again, I'll have some tutorial videos up on Google Hangout and what it is. It's basically kind of like it's sort of a cross between YouTube and a GoToMeeting kind of thing. But again, you'll have a tutorial on that before you're expected. The first week will just kind of be testing it, as a matter of fact, to see if it works for everybody. I'll let you read through the syllabus and the assignments, but you'll see the assignments. You'll have 2 exams, 2 kind of presentations or projects is what you'll have here. Again, those will be discussed more specifically as we get to them, but that's the work you'll have and what it's worth there. You'll see, and you'll see the grade breakdown, 300 points total. You can see what will make an A, a B, a C, whatever. And we have some criteria here for what makes an A, what constitutes A work versus what constitutes B work. And you can read. So that is a rundown of the syllabus, and hopefully it makes some sense. Again, I've rushed over some things in the interest of time. Please read through it and ask me if you have any questions. I'll try to address other aspects of it in more detail, especially maybe in some of our presentations for the first week or so of class. And now let's get back to the other parts of the introductory video. Alright, so now that we've looked at the syllabus, let me say a little bit specifically about some of the textbooks being used in the course. We have 3 textbooks for the course. The first one is called Personal Connections in the Digital Age by Nancy Baim. As the title suggests, it examines the way that relationships have changed in a computer-mediated environment in an era of digital communication. This book also outlines some basic theoretic concepts with respect to computer-mediated communication, so it will be helpful in a couple of ways. The second book is YouTube, Online Video in Participatory Culture. Now, this book, of course, examines YouTube specifically, but it also looks at, more broadly, the advent of video as a prominent form of communication in a digital and computer-mediated environment. One thing that I talk about as a kind of a metaphor is the idea that video I see as the public speaking of the new millennium. By that I mean it is now a form of communication that most people have some access to as far as the necessary technology or equipment. And so, most of us have cameras on our cell phones. Video editing software is inexpensive, sometimes free. With regard to that, video is arguably the most important form of communication that everyone has reasonable access to in a computer-mediated environment. And this book outlines and talks about those concepts. The third book is A Private Sphere. It examines the way discussion of political and social issues and themes and topics, the way that all that has changed in a computer-mediated environment, in a digital culture. And so I've tried to get books that kind of, give a broad overview of a lot of different topics within computer-mediated communication. Since computer-mediated communication, since what we're talking about there is a form of technology, a kind of a channel, then, what that means is that just about any type of communication, is relevant, because whether it's interpersonal communication or group and organizational communication, media communication, things like journalism, entertainment, all of it has been influenced and changed with the advent of computer technology, digital technology, social media, all of those types of things. I'd also like to say a little bit about some of the software that you'll be using in this course, or some of the programs. They're all free or available on the internet. We'll be looking at blogging using primarily Blogspot, and you'll have a tutorial related to that, and all the other types of software and programs I'm talking about here. We'll be using something called Google Hangout, which is a kind of video conferencing meeting software. We'll use that for discussions or to touch base in a virtual face-to-face environment if you should need to, contact me that way. We'll be using something called Poll Everywhere, which allows us to take polls digitally, or without all being in the same room and raising our hands. It's kind of a internet World Wide Web version of some of the iClick things, if you've used that. That's a great way, again, to kind of take the pulse of the room, and without everyone being in the same room. The idea of the room being a virtual place as opposed to a physical place is indeed an important computer-mediated communication concept. But Poll Everywhere will allow us some options as far as seeing how the class feels about certain things we've talked about, thought questions, things like that. We'll also be using something called Present.me, which is a presentation software that combines typically video and PowerPoint. It is, again, both a good way to turn in classwork in here, and it's a good way to see how the concept of a presentation is evolving in a new media era, in a digital media era. And we'll talk about what makes an effective digital presentation over the course of the class, which is often different than what makes an effective face-to-face or real-time presentation. And of course, the class YouTube channel will be a very important component where I'll post videos, you may post videos if it's relevant to your assignments, and it will give us the option for me to post you links to videos from any number of resources. That's indeed one of the great things about computer technology, digital technology, and an online course, is you're not bound by just my material or material I come up with or that we come up with. You may have videos from other classes across the country, across the world maybe, other professors, various other resources from a lot of different places. And again, that is one of the advantages of a digital media environment. And so we can take advantage of that for a broader perspective, but the class YouTube channel. And of course, again, you'll have login information and tutorials made available to you in the class materials. I don't want to belabor that here, but I wanted to make you aware of some of those programs and types of software that we'll be using, and of course there may be others. But I did want to encourage you before I end this video to certainly feel free to contact me if you have questions or problems or concerns, whether it's now, before the class starts, or at any point during the term. Please feel free to contact me in any way that is convenient for you. I certainly welcome you to stop by and meet face-to-face if you're local, and it's reasonable to do. But regardless, please feel free to contact me with questions or concerns with the information you have. And in the interest of full disclosure, this is my first time teaching an online course, so it will be a learning experience for me, and I hope to learn from those of you who may have had online courses before. But I'm looking forward to the experience. I think it'll be good, and one thing I can promise, we will survive it together. So again, thanks for checking this video out. I'm Jason Phillips, the instructor for COM 250, the online course, and I look forward to working with each of you. Thanks.